Here is my Cardiff City v Luton Town preview for Saturday's 3 o'clock kickoff game at Cardiff. Now let's talk about our opponents, Cardiff, who are at home this weekend. I've had a lot to say on Cardiff, especially at the start of the season, and I've got to hold my hands up. And what I said about Cardiff, I was wrong. I thought they'd come down. I thought they'd probably really struggle. I thought they'd lose majority of their key players, which they've managed to keep, but they've also used the youth, which has helped them massively. Also, because they got Barry Murphy, I didn't think that was a managerial appointment that would work for them, if I'm being honest. I didn't think he had the experience to get Cardiff out of this league. And again, credit to him, because he's done such a fantastic job for Cardiff. And he deserves a lot of credit in retrospect to how he's made Cardiff perform and the football he's tried to play. Now, on to that point, Cardiff are a team that will try and play football and keep the ball and pass it around, but do play some very good football. Now, whether this helps us or not, we'll see on Saturday, because when we've played away from home recently, we've tried to play football and hold on to the ball, and it hasn't worked. So us going to Cardiff, I suppose we will have to change our game plan, because we won't be able to do that for Cardiff, and I don't think we'll personally be able to go toe for toe with Cardiff on footballing terms. Now, what also makes it a bigger feat for us, for Luton Town, is that Cardiff have played 15 games at home this season. They've only lost 2, winning 12 of them and drawing 1. So in the league, they're unbeaten since the 30th of September, which they lost to Burton. And they've also lost to Bradford City this season at home. Now, what I believe is those teams have just sat back and just brought the pressure on and defended for their lives. Whether we could do that, I don't know. I don't know whether we could do that with the team that we've got, but we shall see. Now, obviously, Cardiff beat us earlier on in the season. They beat us 1-0 with a Chris Willock goal. And I think going back onto that game, it was probably a draw would have been a decent enough result, I think. I think obviously the first 25 minutes they were on the front foot, and then they got an injury to, I think, Turnbull, if I'm right in saying. And ever since he went off, the game shifted. But then Chris Willock scored, and then we couldn't break them down. So it's one of those that, yes, they won earlier on in the season, but you've got to claw it back to previous games. We beat them twice last season, and they actually hadn't beaten us for 5 years prior to this season in the league. So we had it over them. Obviously, they came in below us in the Championship last season, and we went to their place and won 2-1 last season, especially with them going 1-0 up. The game was pretty poor last season. It was, I think it was around this time again last season, where it was a poor first half. I think they scored a lucky goal, deflection, and then we turned it around with a great Jordan Clark volley and a Tello Asgard winner, which I would say was a bit lucky, poor defending from Cardiff. Now, on to Cardiff's squad, and what a decent squad they have for League One. You look at some of their players, Yusuf Salek, Ruben Colwell, Gabe Osho, Dylan Lawler. Some of the players they have in their team you would think, are far too good for League One. Now, looking at their squad that they had against Rotherham, they didn't play with a recognised striker, so Joel Colwell played up front. So I think for us, it's probably a good thing that Salek's not playing, because he is the best striker in the league, and he scored a lot of goals this season. Also, it's a good thing that Ruben Colwell isn't playing, because he looked decent when he was playing at our place earlier on in the season. Also, Ryan Wintle, if that's how it's pronounced, he got red carded, which it was rightfully so a red card, I believe. So he's going to miss Saturday's game. which I think is a bonus for us as well. But I don't want to take it away from those players that are missing, that Cardiff still have a very good squad. They've actually shown it. And the way that they performed against Rotherham, and Rotherham aren't the greatest of teams, but they had a player sent off after about 25 minutes and still went to Rotherham and absolutely battered them. So you look at some of their players, Chris Willock, Amari Kellyman, who is on loan from Chelsea. How they got him on loan is phenomenal, because he is a sensational player. I don't know if it's been agreed for Cardiff to get him permanently, but if they do, he will excel in the Championship next season. Ollie Tanner, he's come back from injury as well. That seems a massive boost for them. Obviously, Alex Robertson from Man City, he's a very, very good footballer. So I think the squad that Brian Barry Murphy has assembled this season is a very, very good squad. It is far, far too good, in my opinion, for League One, and I think they've shown that to a certain extent, and why they are top of the table. Obviously, you've got Lincoln that are 2 points below them, but Lincoln have been very, very good and very, very consistent. Now, obviously, Gabe Osho, it's going to be the first time that I think he's played against us, if he starts, since he left us for a French team. I can't remember the name of the French team, but I think it'll be nice for him. So yeah, I think in retrospect, Cardiff do have a good squad, which I've said. And it's going to be interesting to see how they set up on Saturday, whether Brian Barry Murphy changes it because it's against us, if he keeps the same system. It's quite interesting to know what he's going to do, but I think it's worked all season. I think, without being disrespectful to teams like Rotherham and teams like Burton, Bradford, I think they might set up a little bit differently against us than they do against them, because the squad that they have, I know that they lost to Burton, but they can break these teams down, whereas it might be a little bit more difficult to break us down. Obviously, our away form, which I will go on to, is really, really poor, but it may be difficult for us to be broken down. So they've even got decent people that they can bring off the bench. So you've got Callum Chambers, who you think was also a Premier League player a couple of years ago. They've got Kean Ashford and Isaac Davis, young players. Also Callum Robinson. I don't think he's got as much of the limelight as Salek has. I don't think he scored as many goals as Salek has. But again, he's still a very, very good player. And you give him time and space, he will punish us. So I've spoke about how Cardiff are setting up, but I think Jack Wilshere has got a big decision to make on who he plays, how he plays on Saturday, because I think a few away games he's struggled to pick the right team. So I think this is a massive one for Jack Wilshere. Now on to my team, Luton. If I'm being honest, I think if this was a home game, I would be a little bit more confident than what I am, because we're playing away. Obviously, I've spoken about Cardiff's great home form, only losing 2 games and drawing 1. But our away form, I don't know what it's been since Jack Wilshere's taken over, but our away form has been poor. We haven't won away in the league since we beat Stockport 3-0. And that's really bad, because that was the 8th of November that we'd last won away. So you're coming up to 3 months that we haven't won on the road. And I don't know whether that's because of how Jack Wilshere wants to play. Obviously, coming from Arsenal, wants to play football. I think the difference from being at home to being away is that being at Kenilworth Road, we're the home team, we're going to be on the front foot. And I don't mean, again, this is probably going to come across disrespectfully to the league, but when we go away from home, because we're the bigger team, teams are going to set up to have a block of four, and just defend their box with everything. And it seems like away from home at the minute, we can't seem to break that down. Now, I will use Stockport as an example. Stockport are one of the better teams in the league. They try to play football, and that sort of worked into our favour because we found space, we could get in behind them, and we won 3-0. Now, this is the only way that I think could be possible for us to get a result at Cardiff tomorrow, is because they will, Saturday, is because they will try and play football, and they will leave spaces for us to get in behind. But I think, as I previously said, I think this is very important, a very important game for Jack Wilshere, because he needs to set our team up correctly. At the minute, we've been playing a 4-2-3-1, so to speak. Whether he decides to go through a 3-5-2 or a 4-5-1, this is probably one of the most important lineups that he will need to pick this weekend, because I think if we go with the wrong lineup, especially with how we've been away from home, I think Cardiff will pick us apart and will win quite comfortably. So it's a tough one for Jack, and I know that we've won the last 2 in a row, but that's at home. Now, as I previously stated, we have struggled away from home, and the points that I've made are probably the reasons why. And we've not won since the 8th of November. So this needs to change, and especially if we want to mount a serious promotion or playoff chase, because we all know that we can win at home, but we need to start picking up points away from home. And I think this game could really be make or break for our season, because yes, we have a game in hand on Huddersfield, but say for example we lose and they win, we could go 9 points behind them. And at this stage of the season, that's massive to try and claw back. So it's huge for us on Saturday. And I think the problem that we've had with previous away games is we've not had a performance. We've not had a performance to shout out about. And that's the concerning thing, is we've lost, but we've not fought for it, or not. It seems like we haven't cared. So on Saturday, I want us to go to Cardiff and give absolutely everything. And if we lose, we lose. Fair enough. But if we've lost giving everything, then it's a better loss to take than, say for example, Plymouth or Huddersfield, where it seemed like we didn't care or we weren't bothered. Now on to the Luton squad. But before I do, I kind of want to address what Jack Wilshere said the other day after his post-match interview after the win on Saturday. I think what he has come out and said, is he wrong? I don't think he is wrong, but I don't think you go and say that a week before you're about to play Cardiff, because I think that's just going to fuel them. Obviously, there's 18 points between us in the league, and we've played about 30 games. So, on paper, yes, we have probably got a similar squad to them, but over the season, they've been more consistent. So, I do think what Jack Wilshere has said is correct, but I just don't think you come out and say it. But anyway, on to the Luton squad. I think we have got a very, very, very good squad. I think it's better than League One. We've certainly trimmed it down a lot in January by getting a lot of the deadwood that have been at the club for almost 2 relegations, i.e. Jacob Brown, those sort of players. And players that I would say that we've got are really good. So obviously Tendon Mengi, I think he's our best defender. And he's good with his feet. I think Mads Anderson, he gets a lot of stick from Luton fans, but I think he deserves a lot of credit. The last couple of games, especially against Bradford and Blackpool, he won a lot in the air. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. Obviously, we've got Casey Palmer in the midfield, who has slotted in since he's joined us on loan from Hull. And I think, again, he's far too good for League One. And he showed that on Saturday against Bradford, because he absolutely run the show. We've then got Jordan Clark, who will play a little bit further forward, and Gideon Gadua, who are our two top goal scorers on 9 and I think 8 respectively. The problem that we have as a club is that our strikers aren't scoring enough goals, and we're potentially not creating enough for our strikers. Obviously, we created a lot against Bradford last Saturday, but you look at Naki Wells, he's got 2 goals. You look at Jerry Yates, who's now on loan at Sheffield Wednesday, he's got 2 goals. Nordas, I think he's got 1 goal in the league, or 2 goals in the league, who's now on loan at Heronveen. These stats aren't good enough. And you compare that to Cardiff with Salek, who's got, I think, over 12 goals this season. It's far from not good enough. And especially when, again, we keep talking about it, but we're in the Premier League 2 years ago. With the money that we've had and got from parachute payments, we should have been able to go out and get a striker, but we've spent it on Jerry Yates, who cost us over $1 million. And now, look, he's possibly one of the worst teams in the Championship ever. And now we've got Devante Cole, who it's harsh to say he had a bad performance or judge him after one game, because it was a difficult game against Bradford with the conditions and everything. So I presume that's who will start up front. Obviously, we've got Al Hamadi, who's played a few games now. Whether they'll start him or not, I don't know. And then you've got Naki Wells on the bench. And then we've got Eli, who's coming back. So I think that will be a breath of fresh air. That will almost be like a new signing. But in the grand scheme of things, with the players that we have, we should be higher than we are. And it's the away form that is shooting us in the foot. Because, as I've said previously, we've not won since the 8th of November, which for a team that's challenging for playoffs and at the start of the season wanted to go up automatically is really, really poor. So yeah, I think the squad is good enough to get something from Saturday. Whether we will or not is a completely different factor, because I think, again, Cardiff are far too good at home. Now, on to my prediction on what I think is going to happen Saturday. I briefly touched on it. I think we're going to have to shape up differently to how we have done in previous away games, because I think the teams that we previously played will want to sit back, whereas Cardiff will want to try and play football and win the game. I'm taking our away performances into consideration, and I don't think we're going to get anything from this game. If I'm being realistic, I think Cardiff are far too strong, and we are not strong enough away from home to go to Cardiff and pick something up. And that's the problem I have. Obviously, Cardiff score a lot of goals. Now, the issue that I don't want to happen on Saturday is what happened away at Barnsley, where we get absolutely battered and it destroys our confidence. Because for us, there's still a chance that we can get in the playoffs. We've got a game in hand over on Huddersfield, and if we win that, we go 3 points behind them. So I don't want our confidence to be shot against Cardiff on Saturday. Obviously, 2 teams, Bradford and Burton, have won away from home. And I previously spoke about it, how they sat back and let Cardiff come on to them. Whether I think we're going to do that or not is a different matter, because I don't think we will. I think we'll try and play football. But I think they're probably slightly better football inside at the moment. Now, do I think we will score? I don't know. I would like to think so, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Cardiff, I think. I just think, again, even without their top players, Colwill, Salek, I think they're just going to be too strong for us. I think if our away form had picked up, and we picked up a few more points away from home, I think the game could probably be slightly different and we would have more of a chance. But I think with taking factors in how new to management Jack Wilshere is, how our away form has been, I just can't see anything other than a Cardiff win, and that is what worries me. I wanted to add a last point onto this video, and I know that I've spoke about how I think Cardiff are going to win, which I still do, but there's a little bit of confidence in me. I think Luton can still get a result. Whether they will or not, we'll see Saturday come 5 o'clock. But the reason why I say this is Cardiff haven't beaten us at home at their place since November in 2020, where, yes, okay, they won 4-0, I get that. But it's well over 5 years since they've last beaten us at home. And the last couple of games that we've gone to Cardiff Stadium, we've won. So we've won 2-1 the last 2 games that we've gone there. And yes, okay, I've spoken about it. They beat us earlier in the season. But again, whether it be at home or away, they'd not beaten us for 5 years. So we'd become a bit of a bogey team for them where they struggled against. So we've got to use that in our favour, especially on Saturday, because, like I said, they've not beaten us in 5 years at home. So that's going to be... Yes, I know the players that lost those games, a few of them would have gone, but a few of them still will be playing on Saturday that played last year, where Asgard and Clark scored. So they will have that in the back of their mind, and I think the Cardiff fans especially will have that in the back of the mind, where they've not beaten us at home for 5 years. Now, I think Cardiff will probably be a little bit edgy, and I think they will probably need to score an early goal to settle the nerves. Whether the ground's full or not, I can't imagine it will be, because they're protesting the owners. But I think as Luton fans, I've seen that we've sold 1,200 to go on Saturday. We need to be loud. We need to be in their faces. And we need to... I think I've said previously that Jack needs to pick the right team, but I think we need to get at them. We need to be aggressive. We need to be physical with them. And I think if we do that, I do think that there is a chance that we go and beat Cardiff, or even just get a draw. And I've said previously in this video that we just need a little bit of fight and a bit of get at them. And I think if we do that, yes, I predicted us to lose, but I don't think it's going to be easy as Cardiff fans are thinking. And I think Cardiff fans will look at our away form and think they've not won since the 8th of November. And I think this is an easy victory. We're going to get an easy 3 points. Now, as I've said, we've got a good squad. We've got a good team. We've got a very good team. And I think it's really down to Jack Wilshere about picking the correct team. And if he does that, I'm slightly confident that we can go and get something, whether it be a draw. And as long as we don't lose, and I know as a Luton fan, people think, oh, you want to win every game. Yes, I want to win every game. And I want to make sure that we pick up 3 points. But I think some of the teams that you play, it might not be possible. So as long as we play some decent football, play well, play like we actually want to play for Luton Town Football Club. And I think if we shot Cardiff, we get in their faces early on, a couple of rough tackles, they won't like it, because they've had a bit of an easy ride this year. And I would say, yes, I've said that they've got a better squad than League One, but they've probably got luxury players. So if you kick a few of them, like you kick Alex Robertson, you kick a few of their players, Chris Willock, they're not going to want it. They're not going to have the fight that us Luton players, or the Luton players, should have. So for me, it's about doing the dirty stuff, getting in their faces and wasting time, and being like how Luton used to be, especially when we're in the Championship. And I think we're the underdogs in this game, and I think we will like being classed as the underdogs, because we used to surprise a lot of people being the underdogs. And I think that's also had a huge reason why we've struggled, because we've gone from being the underdogs to being favourites to go up last year, and then again being favourites to go up this year. So for me, I think that has hindered us. And I think Saturday, I think with the factors that I've gone through, it could help us massively. Now, the outcome for the result for both teams will be massive. Now, it's going to be bigger for Luton than it will be for Cardiff. And let me explain why. Because you look at Cardiff, they're 2 points ahead of Lincoln. They're 8 points ahead of Bolton. Now, Lincoln have got Bolton at home on Saturday, which is a huge, huge game. Now, if Cardiff lose, it gives Lincoln the opportunity to go top of the table and go 1 point clear of them. But if that doesn't happen and Bolton win, they could go within 5 points of Cardiff. So in the grand scheme of things, if Cardiff lose, it's not a huge deal for them because they've got points in the bag and they're relatively comfortable at the minute with not many games left. And I don't think with the squad that they've got, they're going to go on this drastic losing run because their squad is far too good for that. So them losing isn't as important for us losing because at the minute we are 4 points behind Bradford and Huddersfield. Obviously, Bradford have 2 games in hand on us, whereas we have a game in hand on Huddersfield. Now, if we lose and both those teams win, they both go 8 points ahead, 7 points ahead. And Bradford then have those 2 games in hand, which makes it very, very difficult for us to initially catch Bradford. Huddersfield, it is possible because we win that game in hand, we will decrease that points total. But I think the longer we keep this poor away form, the more it dents our confidence, because some of the teams we've still got to play from away from home, because I think we've still got to play Wickham away, we've still got Bolton away from home, which is the last game of the season, so we've still got some very big away games left, and especially with Wigan on Tuesday, or Wednesday, sorry, they will have, I presume they'll have their new manager, so they'll get a new manager bounce. So I think a loss will do more to Luton's confidence and where Luton end up than what Cardiff will. And I'm not just saying that to be biased, because I think, as I previously said, Cardiff have points in the bag and are comfortable at the top of the table. And I can't see them having a huge dip in form towards the end of the season. So for me, I think it's more important for us to get a result than for Cardiff to win. And that might sound a silly thing to say. And I even think if we even get a point, I think that will stop the rut of the away losses. So I think for us, it's important that we try, or really important that we actually get something from Saturday's game.